Why is Australia the only place on Earth where kangaroos, koalas, and Tasmanian devils still roam? Millions of years ago, while much of the world was dominated by woolly mammoths and woolly rhinoceroses, Australia was an entirely different world. Were these giant creatures of the southern continent a recent phenomenon, or did their story begin far deeper in time? The answer lies in the geological past of the continent itself. The Pleistocene epoch, stretching from about 2.5 million years ago to roughly 11,700 years ago, witnessed both the rise and fall of one of the most extraordinary collections of animals in Earth's history, Australia's megafauna. While other continents hosted woolly mammoths, woolly rhinoceroses, and cave bears, Australia followed its own path, where marsupials, reptiles, and birds grew to astonishing sizes. The term megafauna usually refers to animals weighing over 100 pounds. But in Australia, the threshold is often lowered to about 88 pounds to account for its smaller-sized native wildlife. During the Ice Age, the Australian mainland, together with Tasmania and New Guinea, merged into a single supercontinent known as Sahel. This was a strange, unforgiving world where giants evolved as a means of survival in constantly shifting environments. Yet around 30,000 years ago, most of these massive creatures vanished, swept away in a global wave of extinctions. The cause of their disappearance remains one of the fiercest debates in science, torn between two leading theories: the impact of rapid climate change and the arrival of human beings. Diprotodon optatum. The gentle giant Diprotodon optatum, often called the giant wombat, was the largest marsupial ever to walk the earth. This plant eater reached extraordinary proportions, stretching up to 13 feet long and standing nearly 6 feet tall at the shoulder, about the size of a modern rhinoceros. The biggest individuals could weigh more than 6,000 pounds, making them some of the heaviest land mammals of their time, though still a bit smaller than a hippo or rhino. With the bulk of a pickup truck, Diprotodon ruled the plains, open woodlands, and semi-deserts of Pleistocene Australia. Despite its massive frame, Diprotodon shared many anatomical features with its living relatives, wombats, including surprisingly small, inward-turned feet. Its greatest distinction lay in its backbone. The vertebrae carried unusual split neural spines, a trait seen only in elephants and humans, designed to support its colossal skeleton. Its skull was immense but lightweight, riddled with air-filled chambers that reduced the weight of its head. This remarkable set of adaptations allowed Diprotodon to survive across a wide range of environments, from wet forests to semi-arid grasslands. Fossil evidence even revealed saltbush remains in the stomachs of some specimens, suggesting they adapted to feeding on tough desert vegetation. They are also the only known marsupials to have practiced seasonal migration, a clever survival strategy to follow food and water during environmental changes. Strength without predation. Though a peaceful herbivore, Diprotodon's strength lay not in hunting, but in endurance and adaptability. Consuming between 200 and 300 pounds of plants each day, it acted as a natural ecosystem engineer, shaping landscapes by stripping and clearing vegetation. Its enormous size and raw power made it a biological tank, nearly untouchable by predators, even apex hunters like Thylacoleo. Thylacoleo carnifex. The marsupial lion. If Thylacoleo carnifex was Australia's apex predator, nicknamed the marsupial lion, this carnivorous marsupial was the continent's largest meat-eating mammal, though it bore no close relation to African lions. Roughly the size of a modern lioness or tigress, it grew about 5 feet in length and weighed between 200 and 300 pounds. Its uniqueness lay in its teeth. Instead of elongated canines, Thylacoleo wielded oversized incisors sharp enough to puncture prey, paired with blade-like premolars honed to shear through flesh. Studies of its skull and jaws revealed the most powerful bite force of any mammalian carnivore, living or extinct, enough to bring down animals larger than itself, including young Diprotodons. Biomechanical analysis of its skeleton revealed an unusual hunting style. It wasn't a fast runner, but rather an ambush predator, or even a scavenger. Its elbow joints hinted at a rare degree of rotation, more like a tree climber than a sprinter. Combined with a large retractable thumb claw, Thylacoleo likely used its crushing jaws to hold prey while its massive claws delivered the killing blow. A nearly complete skeleton even suggested it had a stiff, muscular tail that acted like a tripod, bracing its body so its forelimbs could strike with full force. Procoptodon, Goliath, the towering short-faced kangaroo, the largest kangaroo species of all time. Procoptodon Goliath defied the very idea of what a kangaroo could be. Standing nearly 10 feet tall, it was 3 times the height of the largest modern red kangaroo, and it weighed over 500 pounds. Yet calling it a kangaroo is almost misleading. Its body was built differently. Procoptodon had strange feet with only a single oversized toe, which meant it couldn't hop like today's kangaroos. Instead, it walked upright on 2 legs, almost like a human. Scientists also discovered that its forelimbs carried special fingers, perfect for pulling down leaves from tall trees. This specialized design allowed Procoptodon to fill a unique ecological niche, avoiding direct competition with other herbivores. But such specialization came at a cost. When habitats and vegetation shifted, its survival options shrank, leaving it highly vulnerable to extinction. Varanus priscus, Megalania, the giant lizard. Megalania prisca, also known as Varanus priscus, was the largest land-dwelling lizard the planet has ever seen. Estimates suggest it reached lengths between 12 and 23 feet, with a weight of more than 2,000 pounds, dwarfing today's Komodo dragon. This monstrous reptile was the top predator of Pleistocene Australia, capable of hunting giant mammals like Diprotodon and Procoptodon. Like modern monitor lizards, Megalania may have been both an ambush hunter and a scavenger. What set it apart was the likelihood that it carried venom in its saliva, an anticoagulant toxin that weakened prey and allowed the beast to track it until collapse. If true, Megalania would rank as the largest venomous vertebrate to have ever lived. Genyornis newtoni, the legendary thunderbird. Genyornis newtonis, better known as the thunderbird, was a gigantic flightless bird distantly related to today's ostriches but vastly larger. Towering more than 6 feet tall and weighing around 500 pounds, it was one of the greatest birds ever encountered by humans. Though an herbivore, Genyornis played a key role in its ecosystem, dispersing seeds and shaping vegetation patterns. Its very existence illustrated the remarkable diversity of Pleistocene Australia, where even birds evolved to fill the roles of giant mammals. But the story of Genyornis is also one of controversy. Researchers once studied more than 200 fossilized eggshell fragments, many scorched by fire, consistent with cooking in ancient human hearths, evidence suggesting humans hunted and ate the bird. Other studies challenged this, arguing the eggshells were too small to belong to Genyornis and likely came from a smaller bird. This scientific tug-of-war reflects the very heart of paleontology, evidence, debate, and the constant search for truth. The extinction of Australia's megafauna. A complex story. The disappearance of Australia's megafauna was not a single, sudden event. It was a complicated story with many chapters, written by the intersection of changing environments and the arrival of a new species. To understand their downfall, we need to recognize a key biological trait. These giants were K-strategists, meaning they lived long lives, reproduced slowly, and had low adult mortality. While this worked well in stable ecosystems, it made their populations extremely vulnerable to any new pressure, whether from climate shifts or hunting. Climate change, a long-term stressor. Scientific evidence shows that Australia had been drying out for hundreds of thousands of years, a process called aridification. Data from Antarctic ice cores reveal that after about 450,000 years ago, ice age cycles became more extreme, with temperature swings larger than ever before. Carbon and oxygen isotope studies from fossil tooth enamel of megafauna show that their diets became increasingly restricted between 30,000 and 40,000 years ago, as the land grew drier. This theory argues that long-term drying and unstable climates shrank habitats and food supplies, slowly pushing giant animals toward extinction. Fossil records also suggest that many species were already gone before humans reached Sahul, weakening the idea that humans alone were to blame. Then, between 43,000 and 50,000 years ago, humans arrived on the continent. Their presence introduced a kind of pressure no megafauna had ever faced before. Unlike native predators, humans were superpredators, flexible, efficient, and capable of hunting even the largest prey. The debate around this theory often splits into two models, the blitzkrieg and the imperceptible overkill. The blitzkrieg model suggests that megafauna were wiped out within a few thousand years of human arrival, but evidence from Cuddy Springs in New South Wales shows humans and megafauna coexisted for at least 15,000 years, challenging the idea of a rapid extinction. The imperceptible overkill model paints a subtler picture. Human hunting pressure built up gradually, eroding populations over time until recovery was impossible. Ecological models suggest that for humans to directly wipe out such massive animals, either their population density would have had to be extraordinarily high, or their hunting efficiency nearly perfect, both of which seem unlikely. The most convincing explanation lies in a combination of both theories. Australian megafauna were well adapted to withstand climate swings and native predators, but they were naive prey when confronted with humans, intelligent, adaptable hunters armed with tools. Even moderate hunting, when added to climate stress, was enough to push slow-breeding species over the edge. In other words, long-term climate change weakened ecosystems, and when humans appeared, they brought the final pressure. Hunting alone may not have wiped out the giants instantly, but it prevented their recovery. Slowly, steadily, the giants of Sahul disappeared. The loss of megafauna wasn't just about a few species dying out. It triggered a massive ecological domino effect known as a trophic cascade. Gigantic herbivores like Diprotodon and Procoptodon were ecological engineers. By stripping and browsing vegetation, they kept landscapes open, prevented trees from taking over, and maintained grasslands. Their disappearance broke this balance. Without giant grazers mowing down vegetation, flammable plant matter built up, shifting ecosystems from open plains to dense forests and scrublands. This in turn made wildfires more frequent and more intense. Sediment cores from Lynch's crater in Queensland show that fire activity spiked about a century after the disappearance of megafauna, backed by evidence from the sharp decline of Sporormiella fungal spores, which track herbivore presence. The result was a vicious cycle. Without large grazers, the land became fuel for wildfires, which further reshaped habitats and stressed surviving wildlife. It's worth noting that although some theories mention marine energy loops or chain interactions with ocean ecosystems, current evidence does not support such connections for Australia's Pleistocene extinctions. The strongest evidence points firmly to terrestrial ecological mechanisms. The extinction of Australia's megafauna cannot be pinned on one single cause. It was the combination of two forces: long-term climate change, which weakened ecosystems, and the arrival of humans, an unprecedented predator, which delivered the final blow. The legacy of these giants lives on in their fossils, reminding us of the vital role large animals play in shaping ecosystems. Their vulnerability to rapid environmental changes, whether natural or human-driven, is a sobering warning for modern conservation. The story of these vanished titans is not just a journey into the past, but a powerful reminder for the present. We now know that when climate change and human pressure collide, the result can be catastrophic enough to erase even the mightiest creatures from Earth. Australia's giants teach us a crucial lesson. Every action we take, no matter how small, can ripple outward and reshape entire ecosystems. The question is, will we learn from their fate or repeat their downfall? So let's keep exploring the mysteries of the natural world, and let's act together to protect the extraordinary creatures that remain. The story of the future is still being written. Are you ready to be part of it? And if you found the tale of Australia's prehistoric giants fascinating, stay with us. More wonders of the natural world are waiting. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss our next journey, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Together, we can build a community that celebrates science and discovery.